Introducing the epic new Swift. Time to go swifting.
Enter they who find comfort in chaos quite unlike any other team in international cricket. Semi-finalists in 6 of the 8 editions of the Men's T20 World Cup, finalists at the inaugural edition in 2007 as well as the most recent one in 2022, champions once back in 2009. How far will Pakistan go in their bid to end a 15-year wait for T20 World Glory? Their campaign starts now as they take on co-host USA at the Grand Prairie Stadium in Dallas. Coverage, our build-up to match 11 of the ICC 2024 Men's T20 World Cup starts now on Maruti Suzuki Arena. Presents ESPN Cricket for Timeout, where it's a good evening to Wasim Jaffer in our studio. And giving him company for the first time this season, we welcome back former Pakistan captain and an ESPN Cricket for favourite in Urooj Mumtaz. Urooj, always lovely to have you with us. Welcome back to ESPN Cricket for.
Thank you very much. It's always great to be back. And then hopefully, like you summed up, a roller coaster for Pakistan begins.
Yes, and I thought, maybe it's a good idea to avoid the cliche, but the situation doesn't help itself. Chaos has been the constant to the build-up. A change in PCB regime in February. Babar Azam reinstated as captain months after having been removed after the ODI World Cup. And then a new coaching staff coming in just 1 month prior to the World Cup. Just the most comfortable scenario for Pakistan? They're quite used to this going into a World Cup?
Absolutely. I mean, for others in all parts of the world, simplicity, processes, and structure is what the norm is. For us, it's quite the other way around. So for us, it's pretty much the norm. Setting into this World Cup at the helm of the tournament, massive changes, the team slightly unsettled, which is probably the biggest concern, because the players and the organization is now almost used to sort of process along and work in almost this chaos kind of the system that we have going. So it's become part of a norm. But the bigger concern would be Pakistan and their form with some big names who are quite struggling at the moment. And USA put up the performance they did the other day. Pakistan at the moment will have to put up a really good show.
When you look at it from the lens of the outside world, we've seen how teams like England and India stuck to the formula. No changing of plan despite, say, a bad ODI World Cup campaign or a difference needed in T20s. Yet Pakistan going this way with so many changes right before a World Cup. Were some of them needed or justified?
No, I don't think it was needed, but I don't think it was something which is not very normal. You know that as soon as the regime changes or the government changes, PCB chairman obviously is appointed through that. So that is not ideal. So anyone who comes in as a new chairman, he brings his own staff, he brings obviously his new ideas. So part of the problem was obviously that the new chairman brought new captain. We saw Shaheen Shah Afridi getting the captaincy, and then Mohammad Hafiz was the coach for some time. He was the selector, I guess, also for some time, and then after 1 or 2 series he was out. Then obviously the PCB chairman changed, and then obviously surprisingly for that matter, Shaheen Shah Afridi was removed after just 1 series, and then Babar Azam was brought back. I like the new coaching staff though. The names obviously are pretty good. They are very, very capable coaches. But yeah, things are not ideal, but that is something which you relate to Pakistan cricket. Unfortunately, that's how things run in that country.
Yes, that coaching appointment bodes well when you think of subcontinental countries going into World Cups, because Gary Kirsten, as you're well aware, is a household name for India. He was the coach when India won the Men's ODI World Cup in 2011. But Urooj, the first big assignment for this new regime at the last hour was picking the squad. And within that came the decision to get Imad Wasim and Mohammad Amir to come out of retirement to play in this World Cup. What did you make of that decision, and how satisfied are you with the overall makeup of the 15 that Pakistan have assembled for this World Cup?
Yeah, I think I've said this time and again as well. I thought Imad was hard done even last year. I thought he had a very good PSL even last year, and at the helm of that World Cup, I thought we needed a middle order finisher, someone who can bowl in the power play and in the middle overs as well, who's actually made a living out of bowling in the power play if required, and is very good with in terms of his economy as well. So I thought he definitely warranted a place even this time round, having a fantastic PSL, got Islamabad United to win games 4 on a trot, including lifting the trophy both with bat and ball, and just has all that experience. Also, one of the reasons that the board did point out was his wealth of experience playing in the Caribbean Premier League, where the back end of the tournament will be. Even he's played for a couple of tournaments. He's played the major cricket league for the US as well in a couple of the venues in the US. So he does obviously warrant a place and deserves a place. Mohammad Amir, an interesting one. I thought Pakistan has a fair share of fast bowling quicks. But again, even for him, it was said that it is only particularly for this World Cup. But the one basic massive miss, I thought, given the spin conditions towards, again, the back end where the Caribbean tournament will be, was Osama Mir, the leading wicket taker of the Pakistan Super League. For him to miss out was, I thought, slightly concerning given Shadab's form. And I can understand they might be skeptical slightly paying 2 leg spinners in the same squad. But the finger spinner has been warming the bench for a while now in Abrar Ahmed. I'm sure we'll see him, but I thought Osama Mir was a big miss. Coming back to the 2 names that they've added in Saim Ayub and Usman, were probably the 2 that were always going to be in it. Usman had a fantastic PSL, was only second to Babar in that, got a couple of hundreds as well. But again, since then, just played the 1 game against England, they sat out the entire Ireland series because the plan seemed to be that they'll play Saim up front and sort of have Babar and Rizwan sort of drop open and 1 down. But again, coming back to Wasim's point, some of the changes, if you've done them, you stick with them in the long run. Saim didn't work for a few games, and they've gone back to Babar and Rizwan, and I'd probably see Osman playing at 3 today and Fakhr at 4. So I can see why it was done, to make use of the first 6 in Saim or Usman. But I think just looking at the way the US and the Caribbean conditions work out, it probably sets up for a very good template for the way Pakistan plays their T20 cricket.
Yes, we will have team news in just a bit. The likely scenario of Babar and Rizwan reuniting at the top of the order, which is always a topic of conversation. We'll get to that in just a bit. What we can confirm is that USA have won the toss and they have elected to bowl first in Dallas. This is the second day game in Dallas. US did beat Canada here in what was an evening game. The day game here saw Netherlands trouble Nepal quite a bit when they bowled first. There was seam and swing on offer. But while we wait on the team news, it's worth spending a minute, Wasim, on the kind of form that Pakistan enter this World Cup with. They've lost series against New Zealand, lost a game in Ireland, ended up winning the series 2-1, and then that 4-match series against England, only 2 of those matches happened and they lost that 2-0. How concerning is it heading into the World Cup?
It is quite concerning. I think they've got the players, but obviously those performance hasn't come. Pakistan hasn't scored, I think, close to 180 or 200 for a very, very long time. They rely very heavily on Babar and Rizwan. We've talked about it. Fakhr Zaman obviously has that X factor, but he has not fired, even though saying that he had a good outing in England. They rely on Iftikhar in the back end of the innings, but they definitely depend too much on Babar and Rizwan. And again, those 2 guys doesn't bat at a very high strike rate, which might work in USA and West Indies considering the conditions here. But yeah, I mean, the batting is a worry. We do talk about their bowling, but obviously Shadab's form is a concern. But yeah, Naseem Shah coming back and Shaheen Shah Afridi, Mohammad Amir, they've got the fast bowling personnel. But spin is a little bit of worry with Imad not playing in this game, but I'm sure he'll be back. But Shadab's form and Osama Mir is definitely one guy that they're definitely missing. I thought he was hard done by because I was following a bit of PSL and I thought he did really, really well there. He was unfortunate to have missed out. But Pakistan have got the team, but they just hasn't put the performances that they needed to.
Urooj, you followed that series up close in England. What to you were the major takeaways? What are the areas that you hope must have been addressed in that short time since the end of that series heading into this World Cup campaign?
Well, for starters, obviously change of personnel. I think Babar did mention prior to the England series that the experimentation phase was done in Ireland and they came with a set plan in in England. But even with the two games, we saw obviously Imad missed out because of injury, but we saw Saim sit out and Osman come in, and they go in with their four seamers, still no Abrar. So I still think they're slightly edgy with what combinations they're going to play. Again, like Wasim said, they've got all the personnel. It's just about all of them finding their form and stitching up a good partnership together. The bowling was slightly concerning considering we've got quality in bowling. The adaptability factor will be key in USA, at least given the uncertainty of what the pitches will throw up. I thought Pakistan took a little bit longer to understand what was required, at least at the Oval in the final game that they played, in terms of pulling their length back. It wasn't maybe until the 12th over when Haris Rauf came back and started hitting the deck at that short of good length in the channel outside, just around off stump. So I thought that was a bit of a concern. Again, we've alluded to the fact that any surface which is above 175, 180, Pakistan struggled to set scores. Because of, again, the lack of using the power play where Babar and Rizwan batted around 125 strike rate in that phase. So it'll be interesting to see how the pitch behaves. Like you mentioned, it is a day game where the ball will seam around just a bit. So those are the two areas that Pakistan will have to look at, make use of the hard new ball, make use of the first six. But even the middle order, you look at Iftikhar, Azam off late, Shadab off late, especially Shadab with ball, those are concerning factors. Yes, Azam has prolific numbers in franchise cricket. It has the same conversion in obviously the international circuit, Iftikhar as well. So there are a few concerns, but I really feel against an opposition, yes, albeit US in good form, they won their opening game and they've done well beating Bangladesh as well. But I just feel Pakistan just need to sort of get their dots together and match up and stitch up one good performance just to get sort of a little bit of confidence back into the entire system.
Right. Let's lift the suspense now. Let's see how Pakistan are lining up for their opening game against the USA in Dallas. They go in with the full complement of the pacers. I mean, they have 5 pacers in the squad, but we are wondering, out of Shaheen, Naseem, Mohammad Amir, Haris Rauf, how many feature? Well, the answer is all 4. A decision that perhaps was made a little easier, Wasim, knowing that Imad Wasim is not available for this game. You agree with the mix they've gone with, bowling-wise?
Yeah, I mean, I was wondering if Imad was available, who would have sat out? Because Shadab hasn't performed. His bowling form is a worry. But yeah, saying that, what Urooj just said, a lot of those guys have done well in franchise cricket, but they couldn't transform that same form in the international cricket for Pakistan. So that's a worry. I think Shadab, obviously those 4 bowlers will do most of the damage. They've got Shadab and Iftikhar. But I think considering the conditions, I feel it's a good team. They just need those personnel to perform. I mean, they rely very heavily on Azam to finish the innings. Iftikhar has done it before. Fakhar Zaman is in decent form. So I think, again, it comes down to those 2 guys, Babar and Rizwan, to set up the platform. They've done that against England, but even then, Pakistan team has struggled to score, more than 160, 170, even when they got the start. So that's going to be a concern. But considering what kind of pitch they are playing, I think this will suit Pakistan.
Right, so that touches on the bowling aspect, but the other interesting bit of that lineup, Urooj, is the presence of Azam Khan. He's had a bit of a tough time with the England series and all the drama that followed him even off the field. But Pakistan showing faith in him. Is that a call you agree with?
Well, Wasim just asked who he would have thought would have sat out if Imad was fit. If I was making that decision, I would have probably sat Azam out and made Imad play. Only because, again, not because of what happened in that one England game, just because of Rizwan behind the gloves, no matter what, is by far a better keeper. So you put Rizwan back in, and just the way Azam has failed to translate and the international circuit, again, take nothing away from the skill that he possesses, but I feel Imad with the bat in the current form is as good as that number. And Shadab, I like him at 5, there's Iftikhar at 6, and then you could have easily had Imad at 7. So had Imad been fit, we don't know how that would have played out, but obviously given the current situation, Pakistan also, remember, do not have any other personnel on the bench in that middle order category. They've got a mystery spinner, 1 seamer, and an opener sitting on the bench as well. So it'll have to be within the between Azam, Imad, and Shadab, depending on whose form is better. So I don't think Pakistan has much of a choice in that category. I think Imad's injury at the moment makes it slightly easier to choose.
The team sheet has Rizwan listed as the wicket-keeper, Urooj, in an 11 which features both Rizwan and Azam. Is that the right way to go?
100%. I know there will be obviously slight element of where they put Azam in the field, and the ball, obviously we've all played the game, tends to follow the person you're essentially trying to hide, if I may say. But Rizwan behind the gloves, we saw that in England as well. A couple of simple catches at that level, they are simple catches, burst through the hands of Azam. So I really feel even it being the shortest version of the game, Rizwan behind the stumps is gone, and you don't want to be missing those crucial chances behind with the gloves on for the keeper.
Right, that's the Pakistan 11 sorted. It means with Pakistan batting first, we will get a look at Babar Azam and Mohammad Rizwan reunited at the top of the order. They tried to go the other way, Wasim. In most of their matches this year, Babar and Rizwan were alternating at number 3 while they had Saim Ayub. A clear move to try and get more impetus at the start, but they've moved away from it, gone back to the tried and tested method. Does it almost work because of the kind of conditions we're seeing, the kind of World Cup we are witnessing so far?
I think it will work in this World Cup because we are not going to see 180 or 200 kind of pitches, so it might just work in their favor. Had it been in any other venue, Pakistan would have looked for another option, but considering what kind of situations we are going to face and what's happening in the World Cup, I think this will work out really nicely. They are top quality players. It's just that obviously they don't strike at 150, 160 in the power play. They are not a big six hitting batters. They're quality players, but yeah, I mean, a lot of it depends about Pakistan batting, that one of them should go on and get that 60, 70 and give them that platform for the other guys to follow. But yeah, those are the two premier batsmen in that batting lineup.
Urooj, while attempting to address that intent and the tempo with which Pakistan entered the power play was one part of it, was there also perhaps some thought in splitting Babar and Rizwan to make what looks like a fragile middle order a little more solid?
Yeah, I think the problem is that they're trying to solve quite a few issues with that Rizwan Babar combo, who's obviously been prolific with the run scoring. There's obviously been that element where they haven't scored runs quick enough in the first part of the game. The middle part of the game as well, Pakistan struggle, and I think at an average they're about 15 or 11 odd runs behind the teams that sort of play that middle field very well. So when you don't make use of the first 6 and you're struggling in the middle part as well, you just asking for too much towards the back end. So it depends on which way you look at it. Is it the top order in Babar and Rizwan who bat for too long but don't bat quick enough and leave too much for the middle order to do, and hence the middle order looks fragile? Or is it the other way around? Is it fair on the middle order to be asking to going at 200 every game with maybe leaving them 7 to 10 deliveries every game? So it's slightly tricky. I also feel responsibility and onus lie on Rizwan and Babar to slightly be more open and break those shackles and expand a little bit more with their short selections, with where they could pick up more boundaries. Definitely 114 and 120 strike rate wouldn't cut it at T20 cricket. Especially in World Cups, wouldn't cut it anywhere. So, but because they chunk out big 15, big 100-run partnerships, the one way of looking at it is they do provide that platform for the fragile middle order. But again, for me, it depends on which way you look at it. And I'd like for Babar and Rizwan to definitely score faster because they've got that skill and temperament to adapt to conditions irrespective of what they are, and they are your best cricketers in the side. So I think onus on them to also score quicker.
Let's just take a look at why we bring up this issue of the middle order being potentially fragile, because when you look at the recent numbers for the batters who constitute Pakistan's middle order, Wasim, that screen reflects quite clearly that while most of them have scoring rates that you'd be very happy of, those averages for the guys who are batting at 3, 4, 5 leave a bit to be desired.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Usman he is a good player. He's got a couple of hundreds in the PSL and he's forced himself. He was playing for UAE. Then he got to play for Pakistan. Pakistan got him into the Pakistan team. And then, he's got an opportunity, but he's not as consistent yet. He's still early days. We've talked about Azam Khan, and we've talked about Shadab as well. His form from franchise cricket to international cricket hasn't transformed yet, but those are good players. We've talked about it. Again, that performances hasn't come in T20 international. That's what Pakistan would want, that they don't rely too heavily on Babar and Rizwan only. If they get out cheaply, or if they don't get the score, the other guys need to contribute. We've talked about Fakhar. He's looked decent, even though he's also batting a little bit out of his position. He's batting at 4, but he's the guy who gives them impetus in that middle overs. But the other guys, I think, need to step up. Iftikhar is that guy who I feel sometimes they leave it too late for him to come down. They're just reluctant to send him a little bit up. I think he's his quality player. He's not somebody who's only bats at number 7 or 8, or who can only come in when last 2 or 3 overs. They could afford to give him a little bit more time, because once he gets set, he's that kind of a guy who can win you games and give you that 14-15 run overs in the back end of the innings. So they need to show a little bit more trust on Iftikhar, but those guys have the pedigree, just that the performance hasn't come.
Urooj, just want to circle back to something we touched upon at the start, which is that whole CPL experience. Of course, Imad Wasim and Mohammad Amir stood out as the headliners, that they were called back from retirement, but it's a big pool of players, 7 of this 15-man squad who've featured in the CPL quite regularly. And given just how challenging it has already looked for so many teams to adjust to conditions, I know Pakistan's tournament starts in Dallas, but you'd expect them to feature in matches in the Caribbean later. Could this prove to be a masterstroke?
And I think that point was made. The point was very well made by the Pakistan Cricket Board, and obviously all cricket followers would understand that Imad and Amir in particular leading. I mean, look at the numbers that Imad has as well, 61 wickets at an economy as well, very good. I think Amir also has a fantastic economy in the Caribbean Premier League. I don't think he's ever gone over 7 in the last 3 seasons that he's played. So those two guys, even the experience they bring for Pakistan, the one thing that you talk about when it does come to the Caribbean, and obviously you'd expect Pakistan to make it to that stage, is the factor of the wind. And if anybody can strategically and tactfully sort of put their bowlers in positions, what surface and how the wind plays, because of them being islands, that becomes a crucial part. And those will be your 2 strike bowlers throughout the tournament. And I really hope that Pakistan, where it'll come down to then the captaincy of Babar Azam, how he then utilizes bowlers, how he tactfully makes decisions on the given day to read circumstances within the game, where sometimes Pakistan has seemed to slip up. But I really feel with Rizwan behind with the gloves, Imad also with his experience, Amir with his experience, that leadership pool is looking much more stronger, and that CPL experience for at least those 2 guys will definitely come into play.
Right, let's take a look at how USA line up. They've started their tournament with a dream win on opening night against Canada, chasing down 190 plus with quite a bit to spare. They make one change. Noshtush Kenjige, who's a slow left armer, comes in place of Shadley Wan Shalquick, who is a medium pacer. So apologies for not getting that name right. Still getting used to some of these names, but Wasim, that indicates going into a day game, USA picking an extra spinner.
Yeah, it's not a bad choice, I would say. They've got Harmeet Singh, the left-arm spinner, who did well. He's somebody who's got experience. He's from India, obviously. He's played in India, played for Mumbai. Netravalkar, again, he's somebody who's played in Mumbai. But yeah, I mean, most of the damage is actually done by the fast bowlers. But yeah, if you need a spinner, then left arm spin is a good option. So I think they're pretty decent, and they've put in a decent performances recently. They've beaten Bangladesh, the way they've beaten Canada also recently. So they can't be taken lightly, and I'm sure Pakistan won't be taking this USA team lightly, considering they won the toss and they've got decent bowlers. Corey Anderson has international experience. Some of the guys have played first-class cricket. Aaron Jones, the kind of performance he's put in the first game itself. So Pakistan will be mindful of that.
Yes, this change means that there's potentially 8 overs of slow left arm in the ranks, with Kenji Gay as well as Harmeet Singh, who had a good outing against Canada. Urooj, how do you see USA lining up tactically against this Pakistan lineup, and with that much slow left arm being bowled, Fakhar Zaman's role perhaps becomes even more important?
Yeah, I think so. I think it could be a tactical decision just looking at how Pakistan generally plays spin. Yes, you could put up numbers of obviously the left-handers with the slow left arm coming into it, and some of our batters having good strike rate against those. But I think it could be just tactically like sort of get one of your spinners in opposed to a medium pace because Pakistan would generally just play the pace better. Considering they've got five quality pacers themselves and plenty back home as well to practice. So for Pakistan, again, that middle phase where we scored about just 7.8 runs and over, that becomes crucial. Where the opposition will look to bog Pakistan down even more. So I think it becomes important that again come back to it, make use of the power play, and then not let go because the trouble even during the England series was the minute the power play is over, Pakistan just seemed to lose their way, and it's where England used their spinners in Adil Rashid and Moeen Ali as well. So quality of spinners, you can argue Moeen and Adil world class, but we've all spoken about it. USA, the run of form that they are in, and winning the toss, they look to restrict Pakistan. So Pakistan will have to come out looking to score those big runs with intent and almost dominate the game. Pakistan wants to be the team. You want to dominate the sides like USA, Canada, irrespective of what they might have done in their past. So I think that'll be the key rather than Pakistan losing a few early wickets and losing their way from there.
And I think that one left-hander you talked about, Fakhar, is a very, very vital player in that batting lineup because it's a very right-hand dominated team. So Fakhar obviously is very, very critical. Otherwise, those 8 overs become very, very important. So I feel it's a very tactical move, and Fakhar becomes very, very important. Shaheen Shah Afridi obviously is a left-hander. If he was a captain, he would have promoted himself, but I don't know now. But yeah, Fakhar plays a very important role.
All right then, that's the setup complete. Now ESPN Cricinfo's Pakistan correspondent Daniel Rasool, in his build-up to this game, said that given the contrasting form and fortunes that these sides have had in the build-up to this World Cup, the stage is as ripe as it can be for an upset. But I wonder if that's just the subcontinental baggage, Urooj. Both India and Pakistan still remember West Indies for that 2007 World Cup when there were so many teams and these two teams faltered. So maybe a lot of it is down to the baggage, but I want to ask both of you, does anyone realistically see USA denting Pakistan?
I think from a win point of view, I think Pakistan look like definite favorites here, but it'll be an unmanned roller coaster. There's bound to be some sharp curves that Pakistan will not have a clue about. But I think in the entirety of the game, I think Pakistan will come out with the upper hand.
How do you see the first innings playing out, Wasim?
Well, Pakistan definitely is favourites in my opinion also. But yeah, I think USA won't think it's going to be that easy because I think they've also got decent players and they've got toss in their favour. So if anything, they would have obviously wanted to bowl first and dent that Pakistan batting. But yeah, I mean, you can't take USA very lightly, I feel.
You want to give me a score prediction? You've been used to doing this.
There's not been 100 scored yet in USA. So I am going to go this time around 140 to Pakistan, 142.
Okay, that's in New York where 100 hasn't been scored. But
sorry, yeah.
Dallas has
Dallas
gave us
is
a
a
high
good
scorer.
score. Sorry,
with USA,
it's my apologies. I think this is going to be around 155, 155.
If we were still keeping points, I would have saved you some points here with this. Urooj, why don't you indulge yourself too? Give me a score.
Yeah, that high-scoring US-Canada game, obviously in the night game, like you mentioned, but I think Pakistan will look to score 165.
All right, we've got a range of 155 to 165. We'll leave it there and pick up the conversation at halftime. Thank you so much, Wasim and Urooj, for your company. Look forward to your thoughts as this match carries on. So much has been written. You've seen that entire Pakistan pace quartet who are playing wonderful pieces on Mohammad Amir, who returns after having won that World Cup final in 2009. Obviously played in the middle, but the story of him as a 17-year-old in 2009, Naseem Shah's own story of redemption and missing the ODI World Cup. You can read all of that on the ESPN Cricinfo mobile app, which will have you covered with the scores, with the analysis. So much happening in the World Cup. There are so many matches that I'm not even going to attempt to count how many matches are coming up in the next 48 hours, but we will have you covered with all of it. But for the time being, we leave it here and we pick up the conversation at halftime. in Pakistan versus USA. Be sure to join us then on Maruti Suzuki Arena presents ESPN Cricket 4 Timeout.
Introducing the epic new Swift. Time to go swifting.